8 sports, 6 nations, and $50,000 on the line. The All-in-One Sports Asia Challenge. And this is one of the coolest events ever organized in the VR fitness space. Here's my story. As soon as I saw the marketing email pop up in my inbox, I remember thinking to myself, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been working out in VR every single day this year. I'm primed, I'm ready. I immediately went home, put on my headset, and got to work. I wasn't quite sure yet which sport I would be specializing in, so I tried them all. I was terrible at volleyball, basketball just annoyed the crap out of me, and all of the racket sports were out of the question because I was battling a sore wrist. So that left archery and boxing. Now I've played my fair share of stealth archers in Skyrim VR, but by far I have spent the most time in VR boxing. Through Thrill of the Fight, Creed, and so many Les Mills body combat workouts. So for the first few days, I focused on boxing. I'd get in and use their heavy bags and rhythm boxing as a quick warm-up, and then get into 1 or 2 PvP matches. The game differs quite a bit from other VR boxing titles, where this one feels really rushy. You're rewarded for getting in close and just doing as much damage as possible in a short amount of time. Not worrying so much about defense, blocking, or even really form. And it just wasn't quite gripping me as much. So I started to transition more towards archery. It works pretty similar to archery in real life, where the wind direction changes after every shot, and even dynamically moves during your shot. You have to do your best to calculate the wind and get as close as you can to the bullseye. And here I did pretty well. I'd play a few matches every night, and I think I went 24 wins and only 1 loss, mostly shooting 9s and 10s. After the month of qualifying was over, I ended up 3rd in archery and 6th in boxing in Singapore. But what I lacked for in game skill, I made up for in time management and punctuation. So because no one ahead of me had joined the Singapore group in time, I was going to be representing Singapore in both boxing and archery. Pretty scrappy way to secure my slot in the finals, but hey man, sometimes it just is what it is. Now this was streamed both on YouTube and Bilibili for mainland China, and I think on YouTube it sort of peaked around 50 concurrent views, but at one point I saw 16,000 people watching it on Bilibili. They had a commentary panel, live giveaways, a live audience, and all the Chinese competitors were actually there competing on stage, which was pretty cool. And a bit of an eye-opener of how much bigger the Pico brand is in China. But anyway, if this did one thing, it made me very, very nervous. And I don't know what happened, my hands were shaking, I shot a couple of 8s, I just straight up didn't play well. I ended up losing all of my pool stages and came dead last in archery.
How do you feel about the games, Mr. VR coach?
It's tough. It's tough. I was feeling down, like a bit of a loser, and to make matters worse, up next I have to compete in boxing, which I'm even less prepared for, and getting beaten up virtually is the last thing I feel like right now. Somehow, I get drawn into Malaysia and Japan, who have a track record of 139-2 and 204-1. And there I am sitting with my 5 games, 60% win rate, and 6th seed for Singapore. The commentators were making fun of me, and honestly, I don't blame them. My first fight was up against Malaysia. I got my teeth kicked in. I tried to keep my distance, but I got absolutely destroyed. So up next was Japan, and before the fight I told myself, if you don't go all out now, you're gonna go home empty-handed. Just go in and do as much damage as you can, literally just swing as hard and as fast as possible. And that's what I did. I absolutely sent it and got a quick knockdown. Then again, and one more, 3 in a row and enough to win the match. Finally a win, which meant we had secured a spot in the semi-final. That also meant that we'd be versing the top spot of the other group, which they referred to as Tyson. But if I can somehow sneak a win here, that would secure a top 2 finish. And here I went all out. Forget about form, forget about everything, and just play as hard as possible. We both used our power punch and landed the first blows. I managed to block his second attempt and even do a bit more damage. Then when he rushed me, I stood my ground and managed to put him down and was off to an amazing start. He was already down to almost half HP. Then he had me up against the ropes. I couldn't land anything, and with the home advantage cheering him on, he managed to put me down. We were basically on even HP, and it was going to come down to this final exchange. Whoever gets the next knockdown would win the match. And by some miracle, I managed to put him down. The judging panel was shocked. But we'd done it. We'd made the final where once again I would be taking on Malaysia. And this dude was a beast. I don't even think he's taken a bit of damage from anyone. So I've been studying a few of his games, and what I think he does is take a big sidestep IRL, which in the game sort of feels like he teleports beside you, and then just does a crazy amount of damage without your guard up. But this time, I was ready. I immediately turned to counter and even did a bit of damage to him. Maybe he's not invincible after all. But in doing so, I accidentally punched myself in the head and activated the pass-through mode of the Pico, which meant that I just stood there and took a crazy amount of damage. I went for one more exchange, but he was just too fast and put me down again. So I had lost by knockout to my own punch to the head. And while I didn't quite get the glory, hey, the silver medal and $500 is still a pretty insane achievement. And I want to say a big thank you to Pico for organizing this event.